You got your water filter? Yeah, always.
Yeah, I'm having
I buy
25 water filter. Yeah. I'm getting that reverse osmosis. I'm getting that, like, UV light filter. I'm doing everything. I'm not taking any risks anymore. So, Alex, you were out in LA this year, right?
I was, yes.
Okay, excellent. You had a fairly good time last time I checked.
Yeah, now I'm wondering where this is going, however.
Okay, yeah. You didn't stay at the Stay on Main, did you?
No. I stayed near LAX.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where this is.
It's in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay.
It was originally called the Hotel Cecil.
Right.
Got rebranded as Stay on Main later, with 700 guest rooms. And it's also kind of known as a place where there are a lot of unnatural deaths. It has like a spooky history about like unnatural deaths that happen. But I'm glad that you didn't stay at the Stay on Main. Okay. I'm very glad, because I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story that is an urban legend, but it is very real. The Stay on Main, or the Cecil Hotel as it used to be known, had a bit of a checkered past, but something weird happened in 2016. A lot of things weird happened in 2016, I suppose, but...
Yeah, Harambe died. It's changed whole everything. Fuck you, Ohio.
F in chat for Harambe. In 2016, the guests of the Cecil Hotel complained to management that their water tasted odd.
Oh, hold please. Is this Lisa Lamb? Okay. Yeah.
Now you're on board. Now
I didn't know that was the name of the hotel. Sorry.
Yep. Okay.
But I am familiar with the story, but please go on.
You are familiar with that story. Okay, good. So, at any rate, in 2016, the guests of the hotel complained about their water tasting odd. And some of them even said that, like, for the first couple seconds when they turned on the water, it looked black. They start investigating, like, well, what could this possibly be? And they go looking throughout the hotel. They go to the water supply up on top of the roof. And in the water holding tank, they find the body of Elisa Lamb, who has been floating there for, I believe the coroner report said that it could have been weeks that she was in there. Now, the thing that's still unclear even now is exactly what happened.
It's because she could not have gotten into that on her own, and then also had it closed so she couldn't get out.
Right. Also, they were talking about how to get up onto the roof, those doors are like alarmed, and the alarms didn't go off. There are, like, the last videos that they have of her show her, like, in the elevator, seemingly, like, trying to hide from somebody or talking to somebody outside, but there is nobody that she's talking to. Also, there's really wasn't any, like, trauma, like a struggle when they did the autopsy, and it looks like she drowned in the actual tank, and also, like, no drugs or alcohol in her system. So we still don't really know what happened.
Yeah,
some people,
except that people were enjoying their corpse water for several weeks.
They ultimately had to, scrub the whole system down and everything like that. There, of course, is the other supernatural thing that there was, like, the ghost of a killer that had apparently stayed at the hotel many, many years ago, and that she was talking to him. I think that might be the more far-fetched thing.
Probably.
There is apparently she did have some history of, like, a bipolar disorder, so they thought that might be one of the causes. But I think it's very interesting, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it today is because, as we can see from just the ghost story, there's a really easy way for urban legends to start forming around something very odd when you can kind of start to use science and logic to kind of piece together what might actually happen. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the idea of uncovering a mystery behind something that has happened. You have your urban legend that's going on, and you do the sleuth work, or your party does the sleuth work, in order to figure out what's happening. I'm thinking more like the X-Files kind of subject kind of matter, where, you know, Dana Scully and Fox Mulder have to, like, go and figure out, like, what's going on with the Jersey Devil. Well, not that episode, because I know that episode was kind of terrible, but, you know, just generally, you know, you go out into the woods, something's happening out in the woods, and we need to figure out what's happening. But instead of something supernatural, maybe it's something very grounded in reality. So, thoughts about, like, what we might be able to do as, like, a story start to get that rolling.
Sorry. Side to that, this makes me want them to do DLC for Shadows of Doubt.
Oh.
Where instead of just normal detective cases, you get supernatural cases. That would be
great. That would be great.
Good
thing to do this time of year if they
right?
were doing the DLC.
But yeah, something like that you could... Man, what is something you could do that you could sleuth out? A murder? A supernatural murder?
It's got to be a murder or disappearances or an illness. Like, what if we did this to something that did end up becoming, like, a big conspiracy, which was, like, Salem witch trials, right? There's, like, an actual, you know, like, seemingly some kind of disease that's overtaking people, and we have to figure out, like, why.
Sure. What about the globule rains over in Washington, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
If you remember that story, I don't remember what it's called, but they were the weird glob rains that happened that got people sick.
Oh, okay.
And not really fully explained, but they think it might have been, like, jellyfish particulates from them bomb testing nearby or something.
Oh, interesting.
But they don't. I don't know. It's one of those things. It was very interesting. I don't remember what it's called. Sorry.
Yeah. Colony collapse of, like, bees. You know, that could easily be a conspiracy theory, because people didn't know why at first.
We could even do the underground fires that are running through Centralia, for instance.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
You don't know about Centralia? That one's fun. It's not an urban legend.
Oh, really? Well, that's good, because we're kind of talking about things that aren't really urban legends.
Centralia is a township in PA, I think. I don't know if it's actually a town anymore. But essentially, there's coal mines all through there, and one of the mines of coal that runs through underneath the town is still on fire.
Oh. And
not projected to go out for a long time.
Something that most people probably wouldn't think about when they're dealing with, like, forest fires, especially, is that the roots start catching on fire, like the root networks in like, forests. And that's why they have to, like, start digging underground to try and find the embers, because they can travel through the network underneath.
Gotcha. No, this is just coal. Lots of coal.
Yeah. The coal is good for burning. You can burn coal pretty easily.
Definitely is good for burning.
Yep.
Anyways,
absolutely.
But we're looking for, like, a case that your players could investigate.
Sure.
Maybe the local forest where they are getting their firewood from. Maybe the trees are infected with something that, when you burn it, creates a fume that makes people sick.
Like a black smoke comes out of it, or gray smoke like or something. It's foul smelling. Like, almost. It
could be some kind of spore that requires heat to activate.
Yes.
Much like there are certain plants that require being burned before they release their seeds.
Yeah, I live near the Pine Barrens, and so pitch pines require, in order to spread seeds, they need to have a burning happen. They only do it during forest fires. And, like, you could then start looking into the fact that there is going to be a mycelial network that is under the tree line, which is something that forests have. That's how they exchange nutrients between the different trees. So the mycelial network might be a certain kind of mushroom spore that requires heat in order to aerate. So now you go and you burn the wood, and it has some of that mycelial spores in it, and it has a negative effect on people because you inhale the smoke, and you could kind of fashion this almost like a cordyceps thing, where it like starts to take over your brain or your body, and it gives you Last of Us vibes, where you turn into spore men.
That'd be too aggressive. Maybe it just makes people fall into like a coma,
or it makes them hallucinate.
Or hallucinate heavily. Yes.
Yeah, that would be good. And actually, that would be an interesting one, because if they're hallucinating, maybe there's a certain kind of hallucination that multiple people are having.
Oh yeah, shared hallucination.
Shared hallucination, and then that leads to the actual urban legend. And the actual urban legend is whatever they are seeing. So you come into a town and everybody starts talking about the smoke monster. I guess because now we're in Lost again. But no, you talked about the smoke monster, and they all have slightly different ideas about what that looks like and when it appears. But you start piecing together the idea that smoke monster is in town, but it's not the smoke monster. And then you have to like back through all the steps that we've been talking about in order to figure out what the actual root cause of it is. And then you have to figure out the way around it. Which is
fungicides. Or just fungicides, I guess.
Yeah. Make sure to use proper fungicide treatment on your lumber before you use it. So, that is something that you could definitely try to do. I think that one of the best keys to this is to make sure that there's just several steps that logically lead back to a conclusion. So, you go into town, everybody starts talking about the smoke monster. Okay, well now you gotta figure out what the smoke is. And now, once you figure out what the smoke is, you gotta figure out the root of that, and you figure out that that's the lumber, and then you have to analyze the lumber to figure out that it's spores, and then you have to figure out where it's coming from, and then you have to figure out how to deal with that. None of this is necessarily supernatural, because, I mean, I did mention, like, the Salem witch trials, and that was also due to, like, it was a bacteria or a fungus that was, like, on the wheat, and that
Pretty sure it was a fungus, yeah.
Yeah, and that led to people getting sick or having, like, being in fugue states, and that's what led to everybody thinking that the witches were the ones that were doing it, that there were witches that were causing the kids to get sick. There's definitely, like, a historical precedent for something like this.
Right.
And we do know that there are mushroom spores that have different effects on creatures, which is, I mentioned cordyceps. That happens with, like, ants, where it literally takes over their brains. So there's a lot of different ways that you could kind of turn this into a storyline, but not just a storyline, but a real investigation, and then use the party's ability to think logically about the situation in order to create an interesting narrative where you can kind of lead these breadcrumbs along through various things. And that I don't see as much in a typical, like, D&D session, but I've seen it in, like, other RPGs, because, like, Call of Cthulhu is very much investigated in
Same with World of Darkness.
World of Darkness, yeah, absolutely. That was the other thing I was thinking about. If you play Vampire the Masquerade or things like that, there's a lot of investigation kind of stuff that can go on in that.
You could still do it in D&D too, but
you can do it in D&D. It's just it doesn't always lend itself to that kind of gameplay because it's very heavily focused on combat and struggle. But
you could do it in something like Warhammer 40k's Dark Heresy, I think it was, maybe, or even Wrath and Glory now, because they have rules for doing investigation type stuff as well, because that was all you're playing as inquisitorial acolytes. So it's like combat is not the thing you want to get into because you will die.
Yeah.
So So I think those
Exactly.
systems would also work well for it too. So
And I mean, obviously, any of like Powered by the Apocalypse or things, you could easily add this to systems like that because they're kind of lent to storytelling systems. And I think like Kids on Bikes is actually all about that kind of like investigation and that kind of thing. So there are systems that lend themselves to it, but I think that it's a really interesting idea of being able to take the idea of an urban legend and then take that urban legend, that monster story that you have, and then be able to break that down so that they can uncover what's actually happening, pay no heed to the man behind the curtain kind of style, figure out what's actually going on behind the scenes. And that's also really great for lore and world building. And it's the kind of world building that's created by the players themselves and not just told to them by the storyteller, by the GM, the DM. It's something that is uncovered by the players by actually going through the thing. I would love to see more investigation-style quests in games where it really asks the players to uncover something about the world that is a mystery.
we'll have to make that game sometime.
We might have to make that game sometime.
Or run that game sometime.
Make that game, run that game, find somebody who can. Well, we have to figure that out. Little bit more work involved in it, obviously, because there's lots of parts and pieces to it. But I think ultimately satisfying for people who really want to be investigated, who have skin in the game to do that, and who build their character so that they're good at like investigation or insight, something to that effect. Even to this day, like I was talking about with the Cecil Hotel, we don't really necessarily know what happened, or the reasoning behind it, but at least we kind of know what happened with the water. We at least uncovered part of it, and then
At least
the investigation
we found that
kept going.
and then cleaned it. Good job.
Least we did that. So, good job?
Yeah.
I guess. Anyway, I will leave a few resources down below for all of these, just if you want to look at some more stuff that I was looking at. I swear, these are real news reports. This is real stuff that happened. Like, I'm not lying about this.
I've listened to many videos about that whole situation. So.
About that whole situation, yeah. It is definitely odd. It is definitely a weird one that does seem to leave more questions than answers, but I do think about, like, the people that were in that hotel just thinking, like, what's going on with the water? And there's...
I don't think about them.
Yeah, and hopefully they don't have to think about it much anymore. It's been 10 years. Maybe they don't think about it very much, but I don't know. It would be nightmare fuel for me for the rest of my life.
You got your water filter? Yeah, always.
Yeah, I'm having 25 water. Yeah, I'm getting that reverse osmosis. I'm getting that, like, UV light filter. I'm doing everything. I'm not taking any risks anymore. Yeah. Because I don't want to know.
I boil every water I get.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Never again. So anyway, yeah. Folks, if you actually have one of the, essentially the real urban legends that would actually work well as like an urban legend, or that you could fashion in that way for like a mystery, something that you could uncover, please let us know in the comments down below, because there are very real situations that happen in the world that are weird. They're weird.
Weird. That's the way we're gonna put it.
They're weird, they're odd, and they are unsolved mysteries. There used to be a whole show called Unsolved Mysteries.
There should be a show. Huh.
If only there was a show that ran for like 10, 15 years or something.